So here we are looking at the Adidas Samba, and it's changed a little bit for this year, but not a whole lot. You know, like I mentioned above, they've done some improvements in the overall flex of the tongue, and the comfort factor is much higher. The more I cranked it down, the more I felt, you know, I started to reminisce of, I started to remember what it was like last year when I was riding them. I felt some similar pressure points, but overall it's been reduced a little bit. I'd love to see them change it a little more. One thing I really did notice is it felt like the response was considerably less this year than last year, where I felt like both the Superstar and Samba had a little more response last year, and this year they don't as much. And you know, like one thing here you can see under the pretty lights is this suede kind of feels like, you know, the more you ride it, the more it starts to, you know, look older and kind of look like, you know, like your faithful old black lab that you've had for years who's starting to get gray, you know, around the nose. This has that same kind of look with the suede. It looks great, you know, out of the box, and it's a cool idea, but I think over time this all kind of rubs away. It would have been nice to just go all leather there, or faux leather. You know, I love that this here, let's put this down and go with this. I love that this has this kind of ankle articulation here. I think that's great, and it also has a rubber backstay where the Superstar doesn't. And so this gives this boot a little more longevity, even though it doesn't quite have the response. It's the response with the Superstar is just a touch better because of the power strap right here. The Superstar also has more shock absorption. This doesn't have as, it looks like it has a lot, but it's not. I mean, it's nothing compared to Energy Boost, but the Superstar has an edge over that too. The Superstar is probably the closest to having shock absorption similar to the Energy Boost. Both have a great sole, but this has a little edge in terms of traction because of the Continental rubber throughout the entire front part of the boot, and then a nice little kind of like asymmetrical horseshoe on the bottom there. And that's all rubber. This white part is the, you know, the scary slippery stuff, EVA foam, but it works, and I like that. You know, inside there's nothing special going on. It's just, you know, same old thing here that you have in every boot. And, you know, and you have a typical insert, typical footbed. I love a lot of aspects of the Silverliner. It's very comfortable, but when you compare this, and you can see in here, it's got a nice set of built-in J-bars that wrap around your ankle pretty well. I don't know if you can see that there, but you know, it really holds the heel well. And the neoprene here allows the very bottom part of your heel to push out, and you know, you've got a lot of room to expand in this liner, so it's got good hold. But as you can see, it's got this kind of like fuzzy foam all the way down, and it's a little more slippery in and out, where the gold liner feels like it has more of a shark scale, where it's smooth one way going in and then kind of holds you in place once you're in, so your heel lifts considerably less. However, though, if you wrap this tight, then you're fine. You know, and that's what's great about traditional lace, is if you take the time to really work it, you know, you have so much adjustability and so many options. So that's better. You know, this year, I felt last year the size 9 fit me a little better than the size 9 this year. This year the size 9 felt just a touch big. Maybe I felt like last year I was kind of bordering on an 8.5, but I felt like the 9 worked. This year I felt like an 8.5 would have been the better call. And normally I'm just a true blue size 9 Burton, and I've never really needed an 8.5 in Burton. This year I think when you know, like I love the tactical ADV, and I'm going with that again. I just love that shock absorption. And I'm going to go with a 8.5 instead of a 9. And I felt the same here. With the Superstar, I felt like it was more so an 8.5, maybe like even an 8.25, where this feels like more like on the border between like 8.5 and 8.75 would be the perfect fit for me. I felt like at first when I put it on, I was like, oh, this is a much better fit than the Superstar. Then, pardon me, this started to conform to my foot and open up a little bit, and then I felt like maybe an 8.5 would be better, but it was close either way. So that, you know, there you have that. And then, you know, another thing to talk about is sizing. I felt like the sizing with this, is footprint or reduced toe and heel drag. So, you know, when compared a size 9 compared to a size 9 Burton, the Burton's considerably bigger. There's like a half an inch almost, like, you know, a half an inch or so difference in size. However, what I've noticed this year is that as you size up and you get into those critical spots, the 10.5 and 11 and 11.5, every size up from a 9, the Burton starts to catch up in terms of footprint. And when I compared a 17, this is an 18, but when I compared a 17 to a 17 size 11 to a 17 Burton size 11, they were almost the same exact size. Actually, Burton might have even had a little advantage because they had a nice curve here, so it fit into the binding a little better, where this is pretty straight up and down, and almost all Adidas boots are like that. So the one advantage, though, is that you are probably going to size down a half size, so that'll probably even it out. So if you're a size 9, this is definitely considerably better than a Burton boot, or size 8, considerably better. You'll be able to fit into a smaller board waist, waist, nose, and tail. It's, when you talk about, board width, you have to factor in the nose and tail and the waist and kind of where your, feet are going to sit, along with side cut and all that. But let's just say generally, you can get into a narrower board with the size 9s than you can with a size 9 Burton. However, when you get up to the upper part, it's about even. So there you have it, footbed, blah. Like the upgrade. Wish they had a little more Velcro, but I haven't noticed it coming apart. I've had a tactical ADV for a whole season and rode it a lot. I don't know, probably like 40 to 60 days. I rode it more than any other boot in my quiver, and I felt like the Velcro held with my medium-sized calves. However, if you're larger, it could be a little more questionable. I'd love to see them add a little more Velcro, kind of bring it to the Adidas line, or even have a nice wrap like they do Burton where they touch. But overall, the Velcro held, and I'm impressed with that. I thought it was going to break down. I even bought some straps to glue on to hold that in place, thinking that they were going to break down, and never used them. So that's good. So, the fit is a little wider than Burton too. This neoprene gives you a little more room to expand. So all in all, it's a little wider and a little bigger in sizing than Burton. So if you have a wider foot, it's better. And the Samba, it feels like it's a closer fit than the Superstar. The Superstar might even be a half to a full size. But, go in and try it yourself if you can, or buy from a place, go to a good shop and try it on there and spend some time in it and see. Because when you're on the hill and you start sweating and you start heating up, this liner expands and it opens up to your foot. So, if it feels just a little, you know, go play around with it in the shop for a little bit, or buy it from a place online with a good return policy, and make sure you get the right fit. Boots are so damn hard to fit, and feet are so unique, so to each his own. But, you know, overall, I think it's generally a half size smaller, I mean a half size larger, so you want to go with a half size smaller than you normally would. And there you have the Samba, you know, improved, you know, comfort, as opposed to last year, and improved, you know, with the forward flex of the tongue, you know, slightly more comfortable liner, slightly improved there, you know, a little more longevity of flex than the Superstar, but, you know, lacking in shock absorption and response, just by a touch. They're both the least responsive boots and the more skate-like boots, more freestyle oriented boots of the entire Adidas line, and then, you know, very close to the Superstar there. So there you have it. That's the Adidas Samba, and it's a you know, it's a good boot. Don't fear traditional lace. You get so much more adjustability. You can go 3 rungs, 2 rungs, 1 rung. You can really get as skatey as you want, or bump it up and get tighter and get a little more response if you want to. And you can't do that with speed lace or boa.